down.
Yo.
Let's freaking do it. Episode 16 E3. We are live from E3 2011. Usually by now we are pretty whooped. For some reason tonight, we got the energy. Normally this is a 20-minute episode. We are going the full 40 this time. We are not going all the way through E3. We're just going to talk about the big three press conferences: Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. How were the press conferences? How did the stuff show afterwards? That's what we're doing this week. Next week, we'll really dig into the games and go over the stuff that we really like. Also, keep in mind, next week we'll start rolling out our Best of E3 awards. So
Maybe.
if we survive. But how you guys feeling? Everybody completely zapped at this point?
Not yet. I'm running at about 40%.
That's because Brooks is drinking scotch.
Start drinking some
He's not
more.
drinking scotch, he's drinking bourbon.
Cheap bourbon, as you
Very,
like to say.
very
Rebel
cheap. He's
Yell.
basically
Billy
drinking
Ecklebrand.
cheap window cleaner.
Bourbon you wouldn't even give your dog. I'm drinking it.
Look, we're surviving, we're pushing on through. Everybody else might be off at the parties right now, and there are several parties that we are missing, but it's just how we roll. And, you know, you guys have been doing this for the last 3 or 4 days. I
This
mean,
is the party, right?
Sunday while you guys...
we are
you guys
severely martyring ourselves for your downloads.
Well, you guys were Sunday while you were working your ass off. I was at B4, which is the
Vegan
drinking
stickers.
festival that starts just before the show.
And I do want to say thank you to every single person that came up to me and everybody else at the show. Man, you guys are freaking awesome, man. I met so many great fans of the show. I don't know how they recognized me because they've probably seen my face like once ever.
They saw
probably heard
they
you
saw your
laugh.
badge and just wanted to know
How
much
could they,
they
how could they forget a face that's a
That
face only a
ugly.
mother could love. Yeah, and I also got to say, I mean, it's gratifying that we have so many people who watch who are developers and, you know, who work at publishers, and it's not just the PR people cursing us out when we rip them to shreds. And obviously that's not taking away anything from the true hardcore fans as well, who, you know, go out and buy the games and are big, you know, this is their hobby, this is what they love. So I mean,
And
just
our big Scandinavian fan base. For
hey,
some reason.
they love us, we love them. It's all about IKEA.
Yeah, so big ups to all the Invisible Walls fans out there. Wish we could meet you guys all at some point, but maybe there's next year we have E3 again. You guys should all roll out, and maybe we'll run into each other.
And now putting up on screen Shane's address.
Yeah. And here to talk to you about the big three, as we've pretty much heard from everyone at this point, Marcus Beer.
Bonjour, my sexy little love kittens.
Patrick Morales is here today.
Looking forward to the PS Vita, rhymes with wife Beta.
Wow.
Thanks, Pactor.
I
MC
stole that
Pactor.
from Michael Pachter.
Yeah, he actually tweeted that during the press conference.
Wife Beta?
Wife beater, yeah.
Yeah, that's good publicity.
That was a sick line.
Was he Vita's
yeah.
wife now?
Couldn't help it.
I gotta say, wife beater and Vita is better than transfarking.
I can't picture him in
Sorry,
a theater.
transfarting. Sorry, whatever the fuck it is.
Barking actually sounds good.
And at the end of the table, we got Drunken Brooks.
Cheers.
And Ryan Stevens is here to break it all down.
Yo.
Let's frickin' do it.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to E3 2011.
All right, so first we're going to talk about, actually we're going to go through these in chronological order that they happened at E3. So the first press conference / platform producer we're going to talk about is Microsoft.
Okay, that was
Crickets.
quick.
Let's move on.
Let's talk about games now.
More silence. What games? What games are we going to talk about?
I think they kind of actually set the actual mood for E3 in general
Yeah.
this year.
You know, I
Kind
think
of like, here's some games, here's some mass market appeal, and go on your way. Shoot.
I think every Sony and Nintendo and even OnLive were probably very, very happy with what Microsoft did, because they set the bar so low that Sony
like, "Yeehaw!"
Yeah, Sony could have come out, crapped in each of our mouths in their press conference, and we'd have thought it was a step up from Microsoft's.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
if you just compare Microsoft's press conference to Sony and Nintendo's, easily the least surprises to be had there. The biggest thing came at the very end, Halo 4, which was nothing more than a short, CG teaser. And the most core games that they had to show off was Gears, which you've seen already, and
And that demo of Gears was nowhere near as good as the one from E3 last year.
yeah,
It was
Nowhere
really
near
short,
as
too.
good.
It seemed like,
was short.
it just was over faster. And then they tried to promote it with iced tea.
Yeah.
They got the right ice,
And he
right?
flubbed his
Yes.
line. And
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all we have to talk about
Well, what about
Microsoft
Modern
press
Warfare, though?
conference.
I mean,
That demo was pretty
It was
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got to hand it to him.
Even
Except for
Marcus, you have
No,
to admit that demo was pretty cool.
We could talk about this perhaps when we get to the outside games, because that's third party. Let's actually stick
Sure.
with first party. What summed up I mean, there's two things that summed up that press conference for me. First of all, when Tim Schafer walks out, Tim Schafer, who's one of the best developers in America,
Most creative developers, certainly.
intense, really witty, sardonic mind when
Portly.
it comes portly. But no, the guy's fucking brilliant. I mean, I love his sense
He had
of
a good
humor,
joke.
and I'm like, all right, Tim Schafer's coming out. He's going to talk about something awesome, and he talks about cocking Sesame Street.
You're not American, obviously.
Oh, dude, I grew up watching Sesame Street, but I'm sorry, Sesame Street has just like Disneyland fucking Adventures, has no place on an E3 press conference.
Well, here's the thing about these press conferences we should mention before we start talking about all the rest of them is, and I even talked about this with a couple people from Microsoft, this is their one chance to reach everybody. They can talk to us at all their various press events throughout the year, but it's only once a year that the gaming industry ends up on Yahoo.com and USA Today and all the newspapers. So this is their one chance to reach out to the casual player. I'm not saying I like it.
You know
I'm
what?
just saying that's why they do it.
As a XPR person, whoever told you that from Microsoft is talking through their fucking ring piece, because at the end of the day, they're Microsoft, just like Sony and Nintendo. They can go and get big coverage in Yahoo.com and on the finance pages and everywhere else whenever they bloody well want, because
When
they
was the
have
last
the
time you
power
saw
to
it?
do it.
When was the last time you saw it?
No,
Whether
then,
the Kinect
then why do they?
launch?
Then why do they put the games in there, Marcus? At all?
Yeah.
Are they that retarded year after year?
Why did they put the Kinect games in? Because
No. Why did they bring out Sesame Street?
Well,
Did they think it was going to
They're trying to
impress us? I mean, no. They
No, they're
did it
trying
so
to
they
reach-
could
I
get
mean, they're
on
trying to
USA
reach the-
Today.
they're trying
I'm
to
just
reach a
saying
bigger
they
market.
don't need to do that at E3. E3 should be about games. Those things don't qualify as
You're
games.
more than welcome to bring it up, but
I have that sentiment as well, but I mean, being objective about it.
Two-thirds
makes
of their
fucking
press
sense.
conference.
Oh
was
yeah, no,
ve-
don't get me wrong.
Was
It was
Kinect crap.
I don't think we
lopsided
needed
as
the little
hell.
tutorial and the stage demo by Father
Do I
Son. We didn't
really,
need
do I
all
really
that.
want to watch two cheesy little bastards spouting off about, oh look, we missed the stars, we'll get them next time.
Well, we're not arguing that the press conference was great.
But that's the reason why it happened.
we're saying that's why they did it.
I'm sorry, as part of the group of people who bought the first Xbox and bought the 360 and have supported Microsoft.
You got a Zune?
And no, I'm talking about the game stuff now, all right? So don't be a sarky bastard, okay?
Sorry.
No, I'm honestly.
You know that is kind of Ryan Stevens.
Yeah, but seriously, I'm not. I'm
snarky
not in the mood
bastard.
for anybody to divert me from the fact that I spent a lot of money supporting Microsoft over the years and putting them into the position to be a major player in the video games industry, and they turn around and they crap on us from a very great height. Every hardcore gamer who owns an Xbox should be fucking furious right now that they had the temerity to bring out Sesame Street and Kinect fingering.
Maybe
on-
they didn't have anything to show.
They wanted to.
Dude,
they wanted to show
Mass
Kinect.
Effect 3. You can fucking talk to your crewmates.
Exactly. Well,
I hate talking to my fucking TV.
I don't talk to my
headsets.
video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, here's the bottom line, though. Money talks, and Nintendo shows that you can make a lot of money pandering to a certain
Well,
audience.
That's the irony here, right? Is
Yeah.
that, and that's the first thing I said when I walked out of Microsoft's press conference. Microsoft's press conference was Nintendo's press conference 4 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know why
Monica?
Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft used to be, so much about R&D and putting together all this great stuff and cutting edge. And for the first 7, 8 years of the Xbox brand, all about games.
Yeah.
And now, it's not as if they're hurting as a company. Fiscally, they are doing rather well. Kinect is selling really, really well. Good luck to them. Go off and do whatever you want with Kinect, but don't make it interfere and don't come out on fucking stage at E3 and give me 25 to 30 minutes of crappy ass games that pissed me off 5 years ago when fucking Nintendo did it.
Look, though, do you remember last year's press conference? Very similar.
Oh, this was worse than last year's.
It was. I agree, but hear me out. Last year's press conference, very similar. How did Microsoft do over the last year? Their best year ever.
Unfortunately, Xbox is now moving into the realms of Wii, where they're determined to turn it into a fucking toy, and that doesn't appeal to me as a hardcore gamer who's invested and bought 3 Xboxes, 360s, and 2 original Xboxes,
But what you've got to realize is that people like us, we've all bought the Xbox 360.
and we still buy their fucking software.
Right, but
seriously,
they don't need to sell it to us.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
What about the money they make off the fucking games, and where were the serious games? And everybody's going to say Gears of War and Forza.
But this
if you
is-
like driving games, good luck to you. I don't.
This is the same argument we had last year. I mean,
I wasn't here last year. I was
was a lot
being a
of
bitch at Ignition.
Okay, there was a Kinect stuff. There's more Kinect stuff. It's part of their platform. They have to address it. They actually showed more core games this time around than last time.
Yep.
Their overall press conference was a little more boring.
How many core games did they show that were
Okay, no, this is the new
Microsoft
thing.
Game Studio
It's-
stuff?
These are not Kinect games in the sense that you need to have Kinect.
Well, they also showed
It's-
Kinect functionality in core
That's-
games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and fucking Star Wars, whatever.
Yeah,
But,
that game looks like ass.
On rails.
Anyway.
That game looks
Anyway.
like ass.
And don't get me started on what they've done to Fable.
Yeah.
Well, Fable
On
sucks.
rails.
Fuck off.
Oh, Peter's crying.
Is it?
He is.
Yes, Peter
Does he
Molyneux.
ever
It's
stop
the
crying?
Marmite
He
in
did
my
not
jam
like that on rails.
sandwich.
Peter Molyneux, love him to bits, but for him to turn around and say Fable Adventures or The Journey or whatever the fuck it's called is not on rails.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't piss in my face and tell me it's raining.
Where's Milo?
Oh,
He's with Otis.
He's on,
a good
he's on a
question.
milk bottle.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, so I'm not even going to ask Marcus for his letter grade for Mike. I think we all know it's an F minus or whatever
Yeah.
he could give it.
Actually, it's an F with a WT before it.
Okay. Patrick, what's your letter grade for Microsoft's E3 showing?
C.
C?
is
What
that
about you,
yes?
Drunken Brooks?
C minus.
You, Ryan.
I'm probably gonna have to go the C minus though. I do have to quick shout out to Silent Cartographer in HD. That does sound kind of fun.
I want to give it an A just to piss Marcus off.
So give it an A plus.
Dude, you look. We've had the conversation, and honestly, I think the C's are
Marcus,
you being
this is
overly
my
generous.
rating.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a C.
You're all overly fucking generous.
Next up, Sony. Second big press conference of E3 2011. I think we could all agree a little better than Microsoft at the very least. I think
Yeah.
just the price of Vita. First of all, what do we think of that name? Which it means life, apparently.
It sounds like
Latin.
a water brand to me. You know?
Yeah.
Aqua Vita.
Drink Vita.
Life of
It
water.
sounds like a water filter that you put in your
Vitalis.
refrigerator.
Am I the only one here who speaks Latin?
I was actually getting some tweets from some of our fans who are in like Norway and Sweden, and they were telling me that it's a brand of cheese over there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of apt.
Yeah. But
I
still,
want
the
Vita
price,
for Christmas.
$249. That's ridiculous, man. I mean, I think my prediction was $399 when we talked about it before.
I thought you'd have to like trade in
I
the
mean-
firstborn child or something.
Yeah, what was the thing that I said I'd do if it was under a certain amount? I can't remember, but we'll look it up and I'll
I
try
think
to follow
I
through
think
on
the
it.
phrase oral sex and a goat with dubious personal hygiene was mentioned.
I mean, extremely reasonable, right? Just
Oh my
compared,
gosh.
compared to the original PSP
It's the same price as the 3DS.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, for the non 3G model, it's the same exact price. So that's definitely going to put some pressure on Nintendo.
So, but let's throw in the caveat.
Okay.
Those three letters that got booze at a first.
AT&T.
Yeah, that the first time I'd ever heard
I mean,
booze at a first party press conference, and
They looked so shocked by
they
us,
looked
too.
so surprised, and it's
They're
like,
like, oh,
guys, 90% of this audience has been dicked by AT&T over the last 4 or 5 years.
It's like, have you
what
ever
were
been
you
on the
thinking?
internet?
Yeah.
Everybody hates AT&T
I'm
that
currently
owns an
getting
iPhone.
dicked by AT&T right now.
that
Yeah.
doesn't really phase me as much because I don't see myself playing over 3G anyway.
Well, basically, in an interview after their press conference, they said that they don't expect people to play over 3G, and they think that it really won't hold for most games anyway.
so that doesn't really phase me at all.
But I mean,
I'm not gonna
3G
buy
as
the
well. I
3G
mean,
version.
aren't we
Just the
we moving to
association.
4G? Isn't that
Right.
supposed to be the thing?
Well,
Fuck that, man. I'm going to 7G.
fucking soda.
You should see my razor.
But Marcus, you're right. I mean, that's the first
get
time
it.
I've ever heard straight up booze
Yeah.
at a press conference. I mean, I've heard silence and a groan here or there.
was like laughter
Activision
boo-
press conference with Jamie Kennedy.
was there a boo or was it just silence?
There was some heckling.
But that
Yeah.
but that was because Jamie Kennedy's a tool.
is Jamie Kennedy AT&T?
I mean, there were at least
I thought he was Carrot Top's love child.
there were at least 200 people that booed in unison.
Oh, I'd say
never
there's-
seen
I'd
that.
say there's
I
more
thought
than
I was
that, 'cause-
imagining it
They
because I
set
was watching
themselves
the
up.
show.
It's just
No,
too easy
I
at that
heard
point.
the booze sort of like start as a role because where I was sitting up in the cheap seats, there were people around us who were booing, and I was one of them.
There's a surprise.
What about his apology about PSN? Were you expecting that?
You know, I was.
joke
Well,
and then he
there was a couple of.
apologized.
I thought.
I thought he handled it with tact and he was very classy about it. So
The PSN thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I'm
they
satisfied
both
with
were because it was Trenton up first.
I didn't even feel like we
then
need to talk
Kaz.
about it, but if I was someone who just owned a PS3, I would probably want them to mention it, I guess.
I thought their press conference was more professional than
Yeah.
Microsoft's. I thought they had better first party games across the board. I mean, it's a very exciting time to have a PS3.
I have nothing against the game itself, but I never want to see Mod Nation Racers create mode demoed again.
I gotta say,
Oh my god!
I had to
Fuck
turn
me,
and
my
ask-
good eye. It's boring. It's cool to do. It's not good to demo.
I turned to the person next to me and I said, "Wow, did Mod Racers even come out on the PS3?"
Yeah, I did. But I mean, I think they're showing it does show the functionality of
It
Vita.
was like the longest 4 minutes of my life.
Well, let's talk about Vita. You know, obviously it was debuted in Japan quite a while ago. I don't think any of us really. I had a chance at Judges Week to check out all the games and see it, but this is really your guys' first opportunity to go hands-on with it and to see it up close. What do you guys think?
So I haven't seen it up close yet, but I have a question. You've seen it up close and
Yep.
you've had it in your hands. I mean, the very first time that I saw someone holding it, my first impression was that it looks big and heavy, kind of just like how most people see the Wii U controller a little bit.
Yep.
Do you think that it might be a little bit too big for a portable, or do you think it's a good size?
It's big. There's no doubt about it. And everyone that sees it in somebody's hands, the first thing they say is, wow, that thing's big. It's kind of like the middle ground between a handheld and a tablet.
Yeah, because I look at the PSP and I feel like it's on the cusp of being
too
too
big.
big.
Yeah.
So, and the Vita is obviously much wider than that.
Well, the problem I had with it is that a lot of the games use a touchscreen. So if you're holding it on each end and you need to use your thumbs for the top touchscreen, your thumbs cannot reach the center of the screen.
Right,
There's
yeah.
a good. I mean, my thumbs aren't. I'm not a basketball player. I don't have
You do have girly hands.
Right. So my thumbs aren't especially long, but there was probably a good 1.5, 2 inch gap between my thumbs on the screen.
But
So I had
it is light though,
It is
right?
very light.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not as heavy as you
It's
think.
big. It's big. It looks meaty, but it doesn't feel meaty.
Right.
So it's almost portable.
No, it's.
I don't
it's-
know that you could fit it in your pocket, and I don't know that I'd want to put that screen in my pocket anyway because it's so damn pretty.
That's the other thing. I mean, the 3DS snaps shut, and I
Right.
throw it in my backpack.
Yeah.
Where do you throw this? And
I'm
don't,
sure
and
they'll
don't
give
feel
you-
paranoid about it.
Well, remember the PSP that came with that sleeve that you slid it into? I'm
Yeah,
guessing they'll
yeah.
probably give you the same thing for this.
How beautiful is the OLED screen in person?
The OLED screen is ridiculous.
It is, right? That's what I want to see. I still haven't seen
Super
it
It
yet.
is
Oh, yeah.
incredibly beautiful. I spent this afternoon playing it.
Is it the best? This is kind of a silly question, maybe, but is that the best screen on the market for portable devices?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a multi-touch OLED.
Does anyone know what its DPI is, like compared to like the iPhone 4 or
The
anything?
Retina display?
No, the iPhone 4 has the craziest
Yeah.
dot pitch, but is it? I mean,
Oh,
it's
it's-
obviously crisp.
Oh, my gosh.
It
People
is.
have, people have been
Everything-
posting full actual res screenshots for I forget what the game's called. It's like Gravity or something like that.
yeah, Gravity.
And they're pretty fucking big screenshots.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to imagine the pixels on that guy are actually pretty fucking tiny.
What
The
they say was
system
gonna
is
be-
impressive. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You get your hands on it, you're like, wow, this is a cool gadget.
for $249, it's superb. Uncharted, it looks absolutely stunning on
Yeah,
it.
definitely. And tracking back to when you were talking about the controls, I think that in place of maybe having an optimal grip, you're starting to see games like Uncharted Golden Abyss at least having some very sensible use of the hardware to
Yeah.
kind of accommodate that demo when they showed the ways you could use the tilt and touch to do some
Be able to draw the
platforming
line
melee.
along the handholds
Yeah.
and he'd automatically run along. Do people
I
want
mean,
that?
But well, the other thing that's the
maybe
other thing.
not, but it seems like it can work.
Yeah.
The thing I noticed when I was getting my demo on that today, the guy was like, "All right, so this is the the rope, and you can either sort of like do the up and down to climb it, or you can just use the stick."
No.
So if you want to go and do
Yeah.
that for a little bit more immersion, you can, but you can just use the fucking stick, and that I like.
Yeah, the touch stuff almost makes like the platforming and traversal like a formality. Because you wonder if you can draw that, then you're taking any danger of dying sort of out of the equation.
But can you
those
really
games
die
already
in
kinda
Uncharted,
have
though?
that,
yeah, it's kind of hard.
It's like,
Yeah.
here, jump here. You have like super glue on your fingertips. man.
Or you jump the opposite direction and you still jump the direction you're supposed to jump.
yeah. Transversal. Yeah.
What do those analog sticks feel like? Is it like the 3DS or is it more like a?
No, they're not. They're
No,
not.
they tilt.
They're not discs like the 3DS, right? They
Yeah.
actually jut out.
They
a little
tilt
bit.
like analog sticks, yeah. So they have like an arc to them. They're not just sliding, so to speak, like the 3DS does.
So a shooter would feel really good on those.
Certainly, yeah.
I gotta say, the camera, they showed me some of the augmented reality stuff with the little deviants.
Yeah,
the
it's cool.
camera looks way better than it does on the DS.
Oh,
the
yeah.
3DS.
I mean,
the 3DS camera sucks.
dude, the 3DS at this point is kind of fucked. I mean, let's be honest. I
No,
expected Nintendo to
no,
drop
no,
the price
I
of that
It,
stuff.
it is the exact same Cold War as before, though. It really is.
The 3DS will do
Superior
well.
technology,
But-
superior technology on the
But
the
remember,
price point.
right? The DS before is a lot cheaper than the PSP. Now we're talking the same price point, so there's a different
That's
element.
putting a lot
the
of heat on
3DS, the
Nintendo.
3DS is going to get Pokemon.
I mean, you're right, but I fully expected Nintendo to maybe drop the price
Right.
of the 3DS the next day at its press conference. It didn't. But
I
you know,
know.
it does have time until Vita. Maybe the day Vita comes out, they drop the
They
price.
don't. They don't. They don't have to because we've gone. We were obviously precursoring the Nintendo thing, but you look at the software lineup they've got, and who's gonna. If you have a 8, 9, or 10-year-old kid, are you going to spend $250 on giving them a Vita, or are you going to get them a 3DS?
They want an iPad anyway.
They're gonna want an iPhone, yeah.
So they take pictures of themselves and put them on the internet.
So let's talk. We've been talking about the Vita for a good bit. I think we're all in agreement. Pretty impressive kit of hardware,
Yes.
Very impressive.
and for a
I
great
want one.
price.
Yeah.
All in agreement.
I also want to start like the
Everyday shooter guy?
3D TV bundle.
That's the best game for the Vita. They didn't even really show it at their press conference, but
Everyday
that's
shooter.
Yeah, the guy who made Everyday Shooter. His
Oh.
new game is like a musical game that you create music tracks and then turn them into platforming levels.
Oh no, I saw that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's no soundtrack to that game.
You make it.
Yeah, that's
right.
pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So hopefully, everyone watching or listening to this will get a look at that pretty soon. Do we have some videos up on the site yet?
Yeah, we
got
did,
some
we did
B-roll.
a stage demo for it.
Okay, so maybe we can put up the footage right now so you guys can see it.
So the thing I will say is the 3D TV bundle that they're doing with Resistance, where you get, let's say, $4.99 for a good sized 3D TV. I thought that was a very, very smart move in their push because a lot of people like myself, I just bought a big 60-inch TV. I didn't want to pay for another grand for 3D on top of it, so $500 for that
it is
and Resistance.
small.
What TV do you have in your bathroom right now, Marcus? I mean, you replace that one.
No, I don't need a TV in my bathroom. I just look at myself in the mirror.
Dude, it's a 24-inch screen.
Yeah,
That
but
is
I mean,
really small.
honestly, I mean, for you put on a little desk in a man cave somewhere, and I could see that fitting into my man cave at home with next to my big screen TV. The PS3's up to it. I can just play Uncharted on that.
I will
part-
say, Pachter totally called it though, right? He's like, 3D is going to be a huge part.
Yeah.
But we knew that. I think we all knew that.
Wasn't expecting them to do a hardware.
I got lots of love for
thing.
Pachter, but sometimes he states the obvious. At least I think.
I don't know. I think that thing surprised me. I thought that was out of left field. A PlayStation branded TV.
No,
Oh,
it
he
was
didn't say
very
that, though.
smart.
No, but he's like.
No, he
they're
said
gonna-
they're gonna
3D
push
was going to be the
really
king.
hard.
He said 3D
But
was
we
going to
knew
be a
that
major
already.
push.
That's what Sony's pushing
I don't know.
everywhere.
But honestly, if considering how beautiful Uncharted 3 is in 3D, if you don't have the $3,000 or $2,500 to buy a big screen TV, this is the perfect thing to go in somebody's bedroom and just plug in your PS3.
The coolest thing about that TV is how you can have two people play on one TV because of it sending the two different signals.
They've had that tech before, and people say it's not as good as it sounds. So
It's still freaking cool.
I'm waiting to see how that works.
But 24 inches, that's a small TV you're getting
Yeah.
there. And then you get the glasses, right, that are like usually $100.
A pair of glasses,
They're putting out
a copy of
$60 versions and Resistance. That's a good deal, man.
Yeah.
Oh, and Resistance looked good, but the guy giving that demo sounded so bored with,
You're right.
with life.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Resistance, I thought looked okay. I mean, overall, Sony, their first party PS3 games, they didn't show a whole lot.
Still
I mean,
no
the
Last
one they-
Guardian.
But they still have the
No
best
Journey
first
at the
party
press
lineup
conference.
this year.
I'd agree, totally. But, they didn't show a lot of new games. Didn't really debut anything. They showed that one game for the Move with like the archery action adventure game. I couldn't figure out whether that was on rails or not.
I thought that was Link's Awakening, wasn't it?
Crossbow training.
I guess the other big announcement was
training,
that
sorry.
Ken Levine confirmed that they were going to incorporate move controls to Bioshock Infinite.
And they're making a Bioshock for the
Specific
Vita.
Oh,
Vita
it's
game.
going to be Pipe Dream. It's going to
Yeah.
be fucking hacking minigames.
So what else? What other big stories from Sony at E3? I guess that's pretty much it.
The food trucks they had before the show were actually quite good as well. Oh, and
Their whole press conference was like a rave essentially.
Jane's Addiction, you have to tell the story.
Oh yeah. So Jane's Addiction is playing, and basically what happened was Sony had its press conference, and they had it in the stadium. And after the press conference ends, they lift the curtains, and behind there is basically a rave for all intents and purposes.
There's a huge arcade, there's food, there's booze, and there's
We're all sucking on pacifiers.
there's hippity hoppity dancers and ballerinas pirouetting in fishnets, and
Mixmaster Mike from the Beastie Boys,
who was actually
Tore it up.
laying down some serious jams, yo.
he tore it up, dude. He's a good DJ. So anyway, later on, Jane's Addiction takes the stage, which actually doesn't make any sense within the vibe of the whole party.
I was hoping it was going to be the Beastie Boys.
That would have been
That would have
awesome.
been brilliant.
Yeah, but it wasn't. So it's Jane's Addiction. So Jane's Addiction plays a couple songs. They finish one of their songs, like hardly anyone's clapping because, in all honesty, a lot of us are working trying to cover the 100+ kiosks of games there.
And the rest of us are shit-faced.
Right. And so he gets pissed off because he doesn't get an applause. So he basically, in between songs, says, all right, something like, go back and play your fucking video games, you fucking nerds. And I was like, wait a minute, dude. Video games are paying your salary tonight, bro.
Yeah.
I saw him last year at E3.
Yeah.
He's at Nintendo.
Yeah, they
He's kind of a douchebag.
fuck them.
Anyway, so let's go around the horn and get a letter grade for Sony, starting with Marcus.
I'm going with B+. I would have given them an A-, but for AT and T.
Okay. What about you, Patrick?
I give them a PlayStation B.
B.
Don't you mean a beta?
Sure.
All right. Drunken Brooks.
I'm not drunk anymore. I'm fine.
No, yeah, you came around in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm used to drinking.
That's what she said.
Oh,
B-. Best part of that for me was just the Uncharted demo and watching them play that. That was awesome.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about Uncharted, by the way.
But I think
which
we're,
looks freaking awesome.
We're at the stage where we don't have to because it.
Yeah, but that
Speaks
demo
for
they
it.
showed was sick.
Anybody who doesn't have an interest in just even looking at that game by now is off their fucking stump.
Dude, that demo was sick. It was awesome, man. What about you, Ryan? What's your grade?
I'm gonna give it a B.
Yeah.
Vita was cool. Uncharted was cool. We'd already seen Vita though in Japan. I crave new things. Ken Levine was awesome. Really liked him up there on the stage. But
We don't
good,
do
but not
this.
great.
We don't do that.
I'll give him
He's like a teddy bear.
I'll give him a B+ because literally when they announced the price of the Vita, my jaw hit the floor.
Literally?
I literally hit the
Oh my
floor. I fell
God.
out of my seat and my jaw hit the floor. I mean, that to me, that made the press conference. You know, he probably should have said like $249, and I did love like the little rip he got for Ridge Racer at the end there. That was pretty funny and clever. But I thought they showed a good breadth of stuff. They did show some motion control stuff, which was incorporated into games that we're interested in. You know, the Vita's a great kit of hardware. Anytime they debut a new piece of hardware, it's a big deal. B+ for me. All right, last and probably not least, Nintendo. Obviously, before E3, we talked about it. I said I was really jacked up for their press conference because they're showing their new hardware. A little disappointed that all the rumors ended up being true, but then when we actually saw it in action, I kind of was a little happier.
A little.
A little.
PR hat on. I thought they had the most professional press conference. They had the nice little touches. The orchestra. I mean, coming into the
That
orchestra,
was
they play.
awesome.
That
That's a
was
class act
yeah.
right
That was
there.
just really cool. Listening to that Zelda, all the various Zelda music over the years.
Admit it.
funny
Did you get?
It was a good show, but
No.
it wasn't really
Not
a
that
good
much
game
further.
show. They only really showed like 5 3DS games. They didn't even show Zelda. We showed Zelda, but
They cut a lot.
It was all
of
the
good
hardware.
announcements out of the press conference.
it was all hardware for the thing, which obviously they have to do. And then let's talk about 5 3DS games.
And then come back to.
Well,
them.
they, you
Which
know,
most of those 3DS games,
Look
by the way, are
fucking baller.
not even being, but they're not even being produced by Nintendo. They're all being farmed out to either Retro, but might as well be Nintendo.
as long as they're good, who gives a shit? And that's
Right.
why that is one of the things we've said. We've been arguing that
What are they
Nintendo
doing
hasn't
is my
really
question,
brought
though.
Which one's
brought
Retro
it.
doing?
Retro is making Mario Kart.
They're only making one level. That was just
Oh, really?
yeah. They're doing like the Donkey Kong level or something.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't quote me, but
That's not what they said at the round table after the show.
Okay.
They said Retro was developing that game. And they
I think
said-
there's some controversy around that statement.
And they said Next Level, who did Punch Out and Mario Strikers, they're working on one of the games. Luigi's Mansion 2.
Yeah, and a U.S. team did Pilot Wings 3DS.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm saying. What is Nintendo doing? Are they going to launch the Wii U, which dumbest freaking name
Well, before
ever?
let's finish up on the 3DS first before we get into the Wii U. We wanted some of the the great hardcore games. The Mario Karts, the Star Foxes,
Kid Icarus. We got
Kid
Mario
Icarus.
Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, Luigi's Mansion 2. I mean, they ticked all those boxes. They ticked those boxes, and they have all these games coming up before the end of the year. So there is some really good stuff to play on the DS that isn't Lego fucking Star
But here's
Wars
my
and
problem.
isn't.
They showed all those games last year. Where's the new 3DS games? Like, those games should have been out already, man.
No,
Like,
I
it's
totally
a Mario
agree.
Kart, dude. They've made 80 of those fucking things. Like,
And
they
they've
should
sold
have fart one
800
out in
billion.
like 5 minutes.
the new Mario game looks good though.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely the best
Tanuki
3DS
suit.
game coming,
Tanuki
hands
suit.
down.
Yeah.
I got to play through all the levels, and it definitely makes use of the 3D. Like, they stack coins. Like before in side scrolling, you couldn't tell that there was coins like going into the screen, but now with the 3D, you can see it.
Did you get to play it?
Oh yeah, I played every level that they had.
So I haven't gotten to play it, but it looks like a mix between New Super Mario Brothers kind of side-scrolling and Galaxy. Is that a fair approximation?
It's essentially going back to Super Mario 64. And that's what they said at the round table at the end of the day was they looked at Super Mario Galaxy and they're like they felt like they were going in the wrong direction, so they want to kind of reel it back in a little bit.
That's the best news I've ever heard. I love Mario Galaxy, but I still think Mario 64 is my cup of tea personally.
Yeah, I'd agree. But you're right, there are some side-scrolling parts to it.
I actually was thinking of Crash Bandicoot 1 a little bit when I was looking at it because it's kind of like you want to
left
go
and
left
right,
or right, or
then
you want to
back
go
and
up and
forward.
down.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't talk about the structure as far as how the levels are designed and how you get into it. But the fact that they hinted at Super Mario 64 makes me think that it's probably sort of structured that way.
It's
The
always
game
good
looks freaking baller.
Always good to see a Tanuki suit now and then.
Yeah. So that game looks sweet, but overall, man, I mean, they talked about those games last year. Like, where's the new 3DS stuff? Where's something to blow our mind with your hardware that has all this cool functionality?
Smash Brothers.
Well,
Smash Brothers.
Well, Smash Brothers is still way off. I mean,
They should have done a teaser.
but everything they announced or showed is all coming out by the end of this year, which is good. That means there's a bunch of really good 3DS games that are coming
but
out.
we knew it already. We knew all those games were coming except for Luigi's Mansion, and we knew they were all coming by the end of the year. I mean, where were the big announcements for 3DS? Which they needed them because the 3DS is kind of, in all honesty, limped out of the gate a little bit. Like, they need some... Look, Q4, that thing's going to sell like freaking hotcakes. Everybody knows it. It's going to do great over the holidays, but I was disappointed in their 3DS showing it at the press conference. Now, let's talk about something I even hate saying the name.
Weeaboo.
And I can tell you from being around E3,
Wii
it's already just being called the U, which fans of the University of Miami will be extremely happy about. But people don't want to call it Wii U, they're just calling it the U.
Stupid.
It's not fun to say, and you have to do something with your mouth. I just don't like doing.
They could have much clever
There's a
name
joke here.
playing
Yeah,
off of Wii. So let's talk about it, man. Obviously, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive, very innovative, and we've got to give a shout out to Justin, who last week said that while everybody else was going motion crazy, Nintendo were going to come out with something that was going to be, there'll be motion involved in it, but it's an old school joypad in there and the old school buttons, and he got it right. I mean, he fucking nailed it. Wii U sucks. The name. The name is, it's,
And look, when they announced the Wii, we were all like, "That's a funny name," but I even remember saying, eventually it'll roll off the tongue. And
it's entered the vernacular now. Vernacular, big word.
U?
They should
It's
just
like
call it.
PU.
They should just call it Wii 2. Wii 2
Right.
Nintendo Boogaloo.
And then instead of the number 2,
Electric.
like TOO or whatever, like you could have. There's a million things you could have used to be more clever than that. I just couldn't even believe that that's what they called that. But anyway, let's talk about the functionality of the hardware, the software coming for it. I did see the first real game for it tonight, right before I came here.
Awesome.
A
What is
real
that?
game.
A real game.
Not just an experience,
And not
as Reggie
Pikmin
would
3,
call
I
it.
hope, right?
It was not Pikmin 3. It was a game from Ubisoft. In fact, tonight after the show, they had a joint press conference with Ubisoft where Ubi went through all its games. They showed us Ghost Recon Online, which that game is a free-to-play game on the PC. They did show some cool functionality for that, though. Like, you can use, like, the drone in the game. You can sort of use the view of the drone on the screen on the tablet. But, the game's coming out for free for the PC. And when we asked them, we're like, well, is this game going to be free or cheap? They're like, we can't talk about that. And they talked about the online. Essentially, Ubi is setting up its own network for that game.
Oh, man.
So then they asked, they're like, well, is this the way it's going to be? Or are you going to have
Is it
to
going
set
to be more Uplay nonsense?
Probably.
Well, I'm not even worried about Uplay. It's the bigger picture that I'm concerned about, which is every publisher going to set up their own online structure for their games?
They're already
which is-
starting to.
Well,
That's what it looks like.
I mean, they've been doing that on Xbox for a while. I mean, EA games, you have to,
No. I'm talking about
He's saying
the
there's no
interface.
Xbox Live.
Yeah. I'm talking about like PS2 days.
It's going to be the Wild Wild West.
where they're like, we got a modem, you do what you want with it. And they asked them the question, was this the way it's going to be for every third party on Wii? And they're like, we can't answer that. All the hard questions tonight, they couldn't answer.
Let's talk about the game.
Yeah, what'd
now,
you
was
play?
the game Assassin's Creed? Because I know
No.
that they talked a lot about it.
Was
I saw
the
reports.
game Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
No, but that's pretty close.
Please don't tell me it was Rayman Raven Rapists.
It was actually it was made by the team that made the Raving Rabbids, but it's essentially, I don't even know how to describe it, honestly.
Well, what's it called?
What is it called? Killer Freaks from
Outer Space.
Yeah. So essentially, it's these little creatures that are supposed to be aliens. They look a little bit like the Rabbids. It's a first-person shooter. It looks graphically like a first-generation Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 game as far as technical merit's concerned. But the caveat is that Ubisoft had only worked on the game for 3 months. The cool part about the game is the gameplay. When you play the campaign by yourself, you don't use the analog sticks. It's all gyro controls, almost like AR stuff. Now, they did say that you can also play it with traditional controls if you want to, if you don't want to stand up and play it. But essentially, you don't even need a TV to play the game. Like, the guy that was playing it never looked at the TV. He just looked at the tablet. The coolest thing that they showed was local head-to-head play. So how it works is one person uses a Wii Classic controller and uses a television. The other person uses a tablet. So if you're the person using the television, it plays like a traditional first-person shooter. You have the 2 analog sticks and a trigger and blah, blah, blah. If you have the tablet, you are spawning the enemies. So you look down, you have an overhead map, and you can see the other player on the map and see which direction they're facing. So with the touchscreen, you select an enemy and then touch the screen where you want it to spawn, and the enemy spawns. And your objective is to kill that other player within 2 minutes or whatever.
I mean, that's one reason why I like the Wii U, because they're showing off that you can pull off these kind of neat asymmetrical gameplay situations. But for me, I just have a trouble seeing cool moments like that because Nintendo showed no actual games at all during
That's
the press
the problem.
conference.
And the other problem, too, I think, is that I thought they showed a lot of cool concepts at the press conference, like catching the baseball.
Like that quick little montage, that shows up some cool moments, but, those
I
aren't
wanted
games.
to catch the fucking baseball.
Well, some
but
of
that
that,
You
demo,
wanted to drink the potion.
some of those experiences were available at the Nintendo booth.
but they were the
and
worst ones from their press conference.
I played the chase game where I've got like 2 people running around the maze
it the
underneath
Metroid
me.
style?
hide
one?
and seek game.
Yeah, and I'm flying above them. And yeah, I mean, it was the thing that impressed me was actually how there was no lag between, I was hitting the fire button to fire just willy-nilly, and I was actually looking at the TV to see the reaction, and it was firing almost instantaneous. Well, it was instantaneous.
Well, they also
in my eye.
showed they had new Super Mario Brothers Mii, because you can play with your Mii in the game now. And we basically held the tablet up to the TV to see if there was any latency at all. It was literally 1-to-1.
That's awesome.
Well, the other cool thing about it is that I started to realize, looking at that demo that Ubisoft showed us, is that you don't need the TV for a lot of stuff. So essentially, you can take that tablet through your house and you can play the game. You could have played that game in your bedroom or in the bathroom or in the kitchen or
No
wherever.
homework.
I thought they said, though, that it's limited to just one room only.
No, they.
Oh, how
they
big?
have not
I have a
committed to that
giant
at all.
room.
They asked them about that, and they're like, we're running tests. We don't know what the distance is. We don't.
They wanted to stress that it isn't a portable. It's not the 3DS.
I
You
will
can't take
say-
it in your car and go somewhere and play it.
I-
Reggie said living room on the stage.
Yeah, but I'm sure Reggie has a huge ass living room because that dude's got some money. But I just want
dude's got some
to
money.
want to make a quick note that Nintendo has done this before, and I think I have some faith, even though I'm talking about the Game Boy Advance cable, and Pac-Man Versus was awesome. Anyone who played Zelda 4 Sword Adventures, which is going to be fucking free.
Yeah.
That game
Awesome.
is, if you could get a GameCube, 3 friends, and fucking 4 Game Boy Advances and 4 Game Boy Advance cables, that
Link
was an
cables?
amazing fucking experience.
I think they only made like 8 link cables total.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's free.
Even the Splinter Cell game had it. Tetris Trackers on the Japanese import copy of Wind Waker, I believe. I mean, there was good stuff. This is a good idea, and I'm glad that they're taking a ballsy. It is still a ballsy step. I think people are impressed. I think there is tremendous ideas. And I forgot you said asymmetrical multiplayer. 2 of my favorite words put together. And it's just. There's a lot of things that could happen. Randy Pitchford was saying, the alien colonial marines, they're going to have it as be like a motion tracker. That's awesome, and that's just a limited idea. There's so much cool stuff that can
Yeah,
go.
I mean, if you talk to any of the developers at E3, they're freaking out, man. They're like, oh my God, what can I do with this thing? Oh, I already know what I'm doing with this thing and I can't tell you about it. Like, they are jacked up.
You know, some guy at Sega is like looking at the guy who invented the VMUs, like, fuck.
Yeah, screw you, Nintendo.
Fuck you.
No, it looks awesome. It's got so much potential. It was funny.
I think that's the problem, though. Right now, it's just potential. But when I got to actually see that real game tonight from Ubisoft, and they'd worked on it for 3 months.
That's awesome.
And it looked great. It was unique. It was unlike anything I've played before. I think this thing's going to be pretty cool. Do I think it's going to sell like the Wii did? I don't know.
Well, the one worry I have is that I had flashbacks to a certain press conference 6 years ago that this was going to rewrite how everybody plays video games, and we're going to support it with all these amazing hardcore games, and we're still waiting for a lot of those hardcore games to come on the Wii.
But it did do the other part.
No, it sold like buggery. I mean, personally, for the alien colonial marines, instead of having the motion track is cool, but I'd love to be able to use it as a face hugger and just
That could happen, man.
yeah,
It could happen.
and then you tap the screen and wiggle your finger to set the thing down people's throats. Fantastic.
But this is what I love about it. It's like everywhere I went, I'd have a conversation like this with people who were like, oh, you could do this. And then you hear someone say that, you're like, oh, yeah, and then what if you did this? It's like even with people that don't make games, you're coming up with zany ideas of how you can use it.
That's
and
cool.
those little montages they put in the press conference, if you actually like cut those up and look at all the stuff they put in there, there's some cool stuff in there. So hopefully it all ends up making it into games, and they make some games that we want to play and not games that the people who love the Microsoft press conference want to play.
And please, for the love of God, release a black one as well as a white one, because I now have the black Wii, and I really don't want to have to rebuy peripherals.
So A's all around?
Nah.
What do you got?
B+.
Wow.
No,
Naysayer.
I'll give them an A from a PR side, from hitting their points. It was great. I'm excited for the U. I like the games that they've got coming to 3DS this year. I'm happy. So I want to see more for next year. But I think best press conference by far. Well done.
Drunken Brooks.
Yeah, I'm with you guys in there. A-.
Ryan.
Yeah, A. I wish they'd showed more games, but it's hard to deny what was shown.
Yeah, I give him an A-, and that's only because I'm pretty pissed off about how they handled the 3DS. I mean,
I actually am giving it an A because there was no 3D in this press conference.
And only one Wii game, Skyward Sword.
Oh, and one thing that Patrick brought up right before we recorded that I did not realize and did not know, despite all the Nintendo things I've gone to the last couple days, is you're saying only one tablet per console.
That's the hearsay.
So you cannot buy an extra tablet and use them for multiplayer. You're going to have to use that one tablet and then Wii remotes or classic controllers.
Yep, that's why they're pushing that, this is backwards compatible a lot, because that's what you're supposed to do.
That sucks. All the rest of it, pretty damn cool. All right, folks, that's it for episode 16 E3 right here on Invisible Walls. Just a couple notes. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, look for our Best of E3 awards. Probably beginning next Thursday. We'll see.
What about
Thursday-ish.
What about the worst of E3?
Yeah, well, you're going to kind of handle that, aren't you, Marcus?
Yeah, they can look for that next week-ish.
Well, actually, that may be up by the time the show goes live. We'll see if we can get it cut overnight. There's a chance. If not, Marcus is actually going to rip E3 and new ones, so look out for his segments. Also, because of E3, there is no reset this week. I know you guys are going to gravely miss those columns that we write for you guys.
Yeah, Saturday morning we're all going to be laying in bed and masturbating, but not each other.
But hope you guys all loved our E3 coverage.
Oh, come on. It's fucking 2011 on a Wednesday night. I should be home masturbating right now.
Anyway, I hope you guys all loved our coverage. I think from all the feedback I got on Twitter, at Dinfire.
At Annoyed Gamer.
Based upon all the feedback I got on Twitter, it looks like the streams were amazing. All I got was compliment. This iPad, iPhone, whatever, Android phones, everything worked great. Rock solid. The site did not go down at E3 this year. That was a step in the right direction. However, it is a bit knackered right now, as Marcus would say.
And we still have one more day to go.
Yeah. And, the videos are going to keep rolling over the weekend, so stay tuned. We have probably another 600 videos to post at this point, so the media is going to keep on rolling out. Keep visiting. Thank you very much for your support throughout E3. It means a ton to us. We'll see you all next week. Invisible Walls is up and out.